Good evening, but first tonight at 6, the investigation is complete into the death of a 31-year-old woman in the Minnehaha County Jail. According to the results, Jordan Eichmann died of a meth overdose. Officials say that Eichmann, who was arrested just after midnight on May 13th, hid meth in her body and ingested it at 2:15 a.m. She was found unresponsive in her cell just a few hours later. The jail says that all policies were followed. That's not the only issue under scrutiny at the Minnehaha County Jail. There are also COVID-19 cases behind bars. Kettleland's Angela Kennecke reports on how the jail tries to prevent the spread among both inmates and staff.
Currently, there are 5 cases of Minnehaha County Jail inmates with COVID-19, but there have been as many as 6 with the virus.
Once you add something like COVID-19 into the mix, those folks are still coming and going from jail, and we still have very little control over whether or not they're coming.
Police officers screen people for COVID-19 before bringing them to jail. Those newly admitted are kept isolated in groups.
Once they get moved to housing, then we move them to a particular housing unit that's been designated for new arrivals. We try to keep them in there for 14 days until we're able to determine that they're either not going to develop symptoms or they do develop symptoms, and then obviously we have to move them somewhere else.
Even with those measures, there are new cases.
It's one of the things that makes it so really confusing and difficult is you'll have a housing unit that's been fairly well isolated, and all of a sudden somebody crops up with symptoms, and it's like, seriously, where did that come from?
Despite wearing PPE, 8 of the jail staff have also tested positive. Some have since recovered.
Staff has to come and go every day. The staff has the same exposures as everybody else in the community.
The jail is not on lockdown, but the time that inmates are out of their cells has been reduced.
Once one group goes out and they go back out, they shower and they make their phone calls and do that kind of thing and go back into their cell, they have to go in and clean and sanitize that before they let the next group out. And it's just a lot of work, and it eats up a lot of the time of the day, which then is less time that we can allow inmates to be out in that day area.
And that can lead to more unrest behind bars.
The jail environment is stressful under normal circumstances. It's more stressful for everybody involved now.
Gromer says the new Minnehaha County Jail, which is set to open in July, will help ease a little of that stress with additional space. In Sioux Falls, Angela Kennecke, Kettleland News.
The Minnehaha County Jail had to hospitalize one inmate with COVID-19 symptoms. He was released on a PR bond before being admitted to the hospital.